We have Eric Yaverbaum. He's over there. Eric is the president of Ericho Communications, co-founder of readtovote.org. And then I have David Tukey, former deputy regional campaign manager for McCain-Palin. Good to see both of you this morning.
Good to see you.
Nice to be here. I'll let you know what all the stuff on foxnews.com, the headlines in a moment, but I do want to continue on this conversation about what's happening there in Wisconsin. And so basically where I was going with there, as you heard, the governor, Scott Walker there in Wisconsin, he has pushed back the deadline. Today was going to be the day. If he wasn't able to implement this $165 million debt restructuring plan, that he was going to basically lay off about 1,500 state workers. That's not happening. So, you know, is it a poker game on both sides, you know?
It's a poker game that should drive everybody in this country crazy. There's enough of this already. We do have real fiscal problems, not just in Wisconsin, in many states. And we're going to see what's happening in Wisconsin happen in other states. But it's time everybody gets back to work. I don't get for the life of me why people are going into other states and delaying the process of intellectual conversation to come up with answers. It is true, they are broke. They need to figure out how to allocate the resources, but not by not doing anything.
I have to commend Governor Walker on his stand here. It's not easy to lead in a situation like this when you've got senators leaving the state, you've got people protesting against you, but what it comes down to is the fundamental issue that he's seen the government has gotten too large and unions have gotten too much power.
And so basically you're saying, David, that the fact that the teachers and the fire and police departments up there, the unions, they have already said, okay, great, you're right, we do need to contribute more to our health and our pension plans, but yet we don't want to sacrifice our bargaining power when it comes to, you know, salaries. And so not enough give on their part, the union's part, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I think there's not enough give on the union's part. And unfortunately, it's not the fault of the current union leaders. It's a trend that's gone on across this country for too long. I look at the teachers union in my home state of New Jersey. It's just recently that our governor's been able to step up to them and say what really is appropriate, what is appropriate power for a union to have. And I think that the examples in New Jersey and hopefully in Wisconsin.
Give me one example in Jersey that you're thinking of right now that you think is an exemplary example that perhaps they should follow in Wisconsin.
Well, my mother's a special ed teacher in New Jersey, and when she would go into work last year and people would talk to her about what the governor was doing, what I would always tell her is that this is for the larger good. And the fact that the leader of the New Jersey State Teachers Union was getting paid over $500,000 a year is something that needed to be fixed. And things like that, where there's this entitlement mentality among the unions.
So basically, David, you're not so much, because, you know, a lot of people, when they see this argument and people who are, just for lack of a better word, are attacking the unions, they see it as an attack against the middle class. You're talking about the teachers, you're talking about the firefighters, you're talking about the police, but you're not saying that. You're saying some of the infrastructure, the way it's set up, is what I'm understanding. You're saying, yeah, why should the union boss get paid, you know, an exorbitant amount of money as compared to the teachers even?
Right, and there's a lot of talk about big business and complaints about big business not being fair to the everyday man, when in fact unions practice the same things, if not worse.
So then, go ahead.
The unions, I mean, and you know, I don't know if you would agree or not, but when you look at just, I don't think anybody would disagree. Teachers, I mean, they make between $40,000 and $60,000 on average a year. That's not a lot of money.
No, and in fact, let me jump in. The average, Wisconsin's average teacher salary is about $48,000.
Right.
They ranks in the top half of states nationally. They'll remain significantly behind the $60,000 average in California, Connecticut. Wisconsin students also rank in the top half nationally on standardized tests, scoring a full percentage point better than the average on the ACT college entrance exam.
Well,
so
you can see if you
got to pay the teachers, you got to have good teachers. I don't think anybody disputes that, though, right?
I don't think anybody disputes that. There need to be incentives for people to become teachers. It's a difficult job,
and they need in the classroom.
Right, they need to feel like they're being treated fairly.
Yeah.
But teachers don't feel. I mean, they look at the now, of course, they want a union, and they want unions to protect their rights and hopefully get their rights. But I think most teachers would say that their union is broken. It doesn't really work for them.
Yeah, you do hear over the course of the weeks that we've been covering this story, you do hear a lot of teachers saying, "Listen, I'm right there with you. I don't want the person who's no longer passionate passionate about doing this job, sitting in the classroom, kind of holding up the process here. Our students need to have the best education possible, and if you're kind of over the job, then maybe you shouldn't be doing the job anymore. Getting back to Scott Walker, though, in terms of the way he's handling this, David, do you think that do you think he's gone too far? Should he be using a scalpel where instead he's kind of using shearing scissors?
Well, I think that he's dealing with the cards he's been dealt, and it's going to be interesting to see how long the standoff can take place. Like I said, I applaud him taking a stand. I'm sure he hasn't done everything 100% perfectly, but he is showing leadership, and hopefully some compromise can be reached.
I mean, and I do agree with you. I don't know what choice he has. I mean, if you agree with his statement that the state is broke, he does have to take a stance.
And regarding the collective bargaining power, that is where people really get the willies going, whoa, you can't do this, you're taking away the union's power. I think what they're saying is like, let's keep, God bless you. Someone sneezed over there. It's a habit, reflex. They're saying your wages should not outrank, if you will, or surpass inflation. That's what they're saying. If you're redoing the bargaining and redoing salaries for teachers and the other workers.
What I would, as a scientist, I would love to see the correlation between how much is spent per pupil and how the kids perform on the tests.
And I'm sure they spend more on prisoners than they do on students.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate.
Yeah, that is unfortunate.